Hi, my name is Claire and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about UCAS. I'm sure some people are familiar with it, some others aren't, but if you're interested in studying in the UK, I'm sure that this video will be of help to you. So, me personally, I want to give my perspective on this whole thing as a Luxembourgish EU student who applied through UCAS for university back in winter 22. So for this video you can expect the following topics. What is UCAS? Why did I apply to UCAS? My personal tips for choosing the right universities, and then going on through the application process and documents that they need, to what to do now and what comes after. So for everyone wishing to study in the UK, UCAS is sadly something you have to use in some way or the other. So when I applied for university, I didn't really have anyone that could explain this whole process to me. So what I had to do was I had to go on YouTube and I had to watch other people explain it, and I did notice that not a lot of people were in the same boat as me after Brexit, having an EU status. Like, what does that mean? What do I do? What are the steps to take? And yeah, I had to kind of figure it out on my own. So this is why am I making this video. What is UCAS? UCAS is a platform that is used by students, upcoming students, to apply to their universities. Everybody has to use it, even though it is possible to go around this platform. In the end, you're probably gonna end up with it. It's a very helpful platform. It can help you with all the deadlines, with open days, applicant days, which are really useful. And later on, after you have actually finished the application process, it can be used as a messaging platform between you and your chosen university. So why did I use UCAS? Very simple, as I've already mentioned before, it's hard to avoid UCAS. It's the easiest way to apply to 5 universities of your choice, and it costs about, I believe, £25, and you get to pick your own universities and they send your applications over to them. Sometimes universities do allow you to apply individually, but in most cases they will ask you to apply over UCAS. So I understand that UCAS can be a bit daunting, or the idea of UCAS can be quite daunting. However, it is a quite manageable platform if you get the hang of it. And of course you have to spend some time on the platform to get used to it. But it has a lot of step-by-steps and just overall steps you can just follow, and it should be manageable for everyone to apply to their universities. So the next step, which university? You need to pick 5 universities. This is the maximum you can do. You can obviously apply to fewer universities, but it is not possible to go over the 5. So, what can you do? There are a lot of things to consider when you want to apply to a university. So many things, and everybody does it differently. Here are just some of my tips that I can share on how I chose my universities. So, to start off, there's maybe a quite obvious one, but there's location. Obviously the UK is quite big, and so maybe it helps if you just slow down for a second and you think about, where do I actually want to study? Maybe you already have picked a city you want to go to, but if you haven't decided or you're open to any city, maybe just try to pick the country. Maybe you want to focus on England, Scotland, Wales or Northern Ireland. For my personal experience, I picked England. I tried to look around in England first, and in the end, out of my 5 choices, I only had one that was located in Scotland. Maybe now after Brexit, you're in the same boat as me and you also want to keep an eye on the costs. There's going to be a lot of costs involved. I am planning on making a whole different video about what kind of costs appeared during my whole application at my first year at university. So there's obviously the tuition cost, which is the basic cost that you need to pay for a whole year at university. Those can range anywhere, I believe, from £13,000 to up to £25,000 per year that you go for. So it's definitely worth keeping an eye on that one. Of course, everyone is different. So everyone has their own priorities. Maybe there are certain facilities that you want to have, like a gym on campus or something like this. Maybe you want to join a specific club or society. Who knows? And those are priorities that you should definitely consider putting on your list of requirements. It is important that you find a university that is good for you. Maybe somebody else doesn't want this, but if it's the right one for you and those are your priorities, then go for it. Another thing with the location is maybe you want to have a campus that's just outside of a city, but still close enough on walking distance. Maybe you want to have kind of like the campus life, so it's completely outside of any town or city nearby. Or you want to be in the center of a town. Those are questions you can ask yourself what you might prefer. Obviously, you don't always know, and sometimes it's good to just be open with everything. You shouldn't be worried if you don't know the answer to every single question yet. When you have found an answer to some of the questions, then it is time to look at your selected few in detail. Look at them in detail, please. It is so important that you go to the course and you look at a course overview and to look at the modules that they might be offering, and in general look at the entry requirements. That's also very helpful. And just see for yourself if everything you're reading is what you want to see or want to hear if you want to. It's important that you are happy with the decision you're taking. So read through it and take your time. This is not something that should be rushed. The decisions you take there are basically the top 5. So it's so important that you pick the right ones for yourself. Okay, let's say you have found your top 5 and you're happy with them. So you've made a UCAS account and you continue to pay the fee, sadly, and what now? Now is the moment that they are going to ask for quite some information. And it's not that difficult. Some of the steps are more daunting than others, but everything will be fine. Just make sure, again, to take your time. What might they ask? So they will ask for some basic information, such as name, gender, age and nationality. After this, they might also go on to ask some questions about financing your whole studies, which is quite easy because there's like, if you're planning on paying for it more of yourself, there's like a private funding selection. So it's quite easy to select. They usually give you multiple choice answers and you just fall into one category. After this, there are some other documents that you have to send or basically scan in. So it will be, for one, your high school diploma. In my situation, because I already had my diploma, I could just send in my whole case. So I didn't have to go to any other way. So I'm not sure exactly how they will ask for your graduation papers afterwards. Then they are going to ask for a language proficiency test, which might be an IELTS or a TOEFL. Both need to be a C1 qualification, which is something you need to pay extra. And in private, make sure you do that one with enough time to spare, because maybe you didn't quite reach that level and you might have to retake it. And if you're in a case like me, the exam was only offered once a month. So definitely count in enough time. The most daunting step in this whole thing is probably the personal statement that they are going to require from you. I'd say you shouldn't worry too much about it. Make sure, again, you take your time with this. It's a very important step and it might be the reason why a university will pick you. So you should take enough time to prepare for it and to kind of figure out what you want to write about. It's not always clear from the start. I had a few tries before I started to get an idea of what I wanted to go for. Then, besides the personal statement, there's also a reference letter. The reference letter is basically kind of like a letter that an old teacher of yours needs to write to the university. So you will have to know like some personal information about the teacher. So you have to ask permission first, which could be, I think, like a phone number, email address, and something like that. And UCAS is then going to write to them, and they will then send in a document, like a Word document, if you want, where they basically wrote about reasons why this university should take you. So try to pick a teacher that likes you. It's the best way to go. And you will never know what's written in this reference letter. You will never get to see it. So you have no clue what this teacher is going to write about you, which is quite scary. I am planning on sharing my own experience with some more like personal documents, but I'm also probably going to share my own personal statement in a different video. Yes, so moving on, your application is over. You send all the documents in, so what's going on now? Sadly, there might be some waiting. Again, as I said, my case was a little bit different as I already had all my documents. So I only had to wait for like about a week, and I believe I started my application process back in November, and I think I had back early December, so it was really not a long time for me. So, what might happen? The universities will then reply to you, and they're going to ask maybe for some documents that they haven't received the scan of yet. So they might again ask you for the same documents that you sent to UCAS. That's just how it is. I also had one case where they asked for a correction on my personal statements. So it's a bit different each time. Every university can do as they like, but this all happened over UCAS. So that's where the messaging and the back and forth comes into play. During this time, obviously you've received some offers, maybe not all of them. I had a couple who, for example, said they wanted to wait until they received all their offers, like applications. So I didn't hear back from everyone, but I had 3 universities that replied rather quickly, and it was between 2 of these universities that I wanted to choose from. Those were my top 2 in my top 5, so I was quite happy that they both were accepting me. So yeah, I had to sit down and think a bit more about which one it's gonna be. And then I had to put in a firm choice, which is basically your answer. So you have one firm choice and then the other ones get rejected, or you just did not want to hear from them back. So yeah, I put my firm choice in and that was that. After that, you only message with your firm choice. You will not hear back from any of the other universities afterwards. I applied in winter, but I believe the deadline is February. So over the whole winter, people can still apply. So I got my answer rather quickly, but maybe some get it even later. And if they wait for all the answers, it can sometimes take up till March or April until you receive an offer. So it depends a bit, but for me, it was very quickly. So I had loads of waiting, sadly, but it worked out. Sometimes you will receive something per mail, like email. Yeah, and then you just send in some documents again, or just answer some questions that they have. And in general, everything is quite clear about what you have to do. So I wouldn't worry too much about these kind of like little steps. And they might be different for everyone. So what else might happen during this time, or what you can do during this time, is you can apply for accommodation. Or you can go to another applicant day if you want to. If you want to see the university again, that's what I did. I did my applicant day. Yes, I did my applicant day in March and I applied in winter. So I did it after I applied because I wanted to see the university before I started in September. It was my own choice like this. But yeah, so what you can do is apply for accommodation. It's a really important step. In my case, first years were guaranteed on-campus accommodation. So I wasn't too scared about not getting a room, but you could pick some, like what accommodation would you rather have. And yeah, so that's what you can do, which I think happens during April, May-ish. So I would definitely keep my eyes open. And if you don't plan on staying on campus, or maybe university doesn't offer it, which I heard is sometimes the case if you choose an university inside of a city, like central way. Still keep in mind, loads of people are in the same situation. So it's important that you are prepared and that you start early enough, because there's so many steps that not everybody thinks about. So it's definitely good to get a head start on all of these preparations. So this was it. So this was it. I hope that my video made this whole process a little bit less mysterious and maybe cleared some questions along the way. Please share in the comments if you have any more questions to anything, and maybe I can help you with that. And you can also share some other tips that you maybe want other people to hear. I would love to hear some more tips about maybe choosing universities or just in general. So yeah, I hope you liked watching the video and hopefully see you next time. Bye bye!